One, two, three, four. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Andy That's in the Bonnevilles podcast. Hope you're well. It's Monday morning. Monday, what is it, the 6th of July, something like that. The pubs reopened over the weekend. That was fun. So anyway, what are we going to talk about? A story you may have become aware of over the past week that's been going great guns is Russia has been offering a bounty to the Taliban in Afghanistan to kill American and UK troops, NATO troops in general. So we're going to talk about that, and basically it's complete bullshit. Here we go. So you may know this story. I'll get a little graphic up on screen. But yeah, like, share, subscribe, do the whole thing, everybody, if you can. If you're listening to this on your podcast app, come on over to the YouTube as well and give us a wee subscribe. So, and share. So yeah. So basically, this story's been doing the rounds this past week, that the Russians, being controlled by Vladimir Dr. Evil Putin, are offering a bounty to Taliban soldiers to kill foreign troops in their country. Now, to me, this is so laughable. It is so as if the Taliban need any motivation to kill Americans, but it's so laughable. It's It's fucking ridiculous. They've gone too far. This is an extension of the whole Russiagate thing. And if you're unfamiliar with that particular little piece of melodrama, it is the idea that Vladimir Putin, being, the evil genius that he is, has some sort of nefarious control over the Manchurian candidate, President Trump. And this all comes from a document, the Steele dossier, that was presented in 2016 by ex-British spy Christopher Steele, who presented this document to a Senate hearing in the US, and it has been repeated ad nauseum without evidence, with a complete fact-free soap opera has been played out by the world's media in order to discredit Donald Trump. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, as if you need to make stuff up to discredit that man. He's completely discredited before this shit ever started. But such as it is. So what they fail to mention in the media is that Christopher Steele is an ex-British spy. He's a fucking spook. He's untrustworthy. His default position is to lie. That's what they do. The dossier that he created, the big thing that they fail to mention is that he was employed by the Hillary Clinton campaign to do what's called opposition research, which is normal on Donald Trump. And this is what he did. So he goes to his ex-colleagues in the spying game and in Russia, offers them money, and they present him with these stories, which are, as they say, completely fact-free. And if you want to learn a little bit more about it, Go and read articles by Matt Taibbi, who's a Rolling Stone journalist, uh, Aaron Mate, who writes for The Grey Zone and others, and um, Jimmy Dore, actually, on YouTube. And these guys have completely debunked and discredited all of this stuff in a fairly concise and clear way. But they're completely ignored by the media themselves. Well, because it's the media that they're doing well out of this. They're happy to push this whole Donald Trump Russia thing because it's sensationalist, to say the least, and it does provide them with ratings. And I'm sad to say, I see a lot of my friends, especially in America, calling, repeating these RussiaGate conspiracies, and which is what they are. It is a conspiracy. It is the definition of a conspiracy. And I mean, and just in the interests of clarity, I want to clear this up. I don't like Donald Trump. I fucking hate Donald Trump. I think he's a vile individual. I disliked him long before he was ever president. I was very aware of his business practices, especially when he was building his casino in Atlantic City. He bankrupted. The thing that made me kind of very aware of him is that he bankrupted builders, contractors, small working class, middle class contractors. He just bankrupted them rather than pay his bills. And I said, this guy's a fucking monster. Plus, he's a New York property dealer. He didn't get the developer. You don't get to be that by being a nice guy. Okay, so as if you needed any reason to dislike Donald Trump, you don't need to wait until he becomes president. He was particularly easily despicable way before then. So, sip of coffee. So, let's get to this. So, the thing that you have to understand is that this story's a plant. It is a completely fact-free, source-free plant. Read these stories. I'm not going to read them out to you. Just go online, Google it, read the first 4 or 5 things. And they're almost exactly the same story. In this image that I have up on the screen, it says it's from The Guardian in the UK. Russia offered bounty to kill UK soldiers. The exact same story appears in the US press. Just replace the word UK with US. And the reason the timing is significant. Now, I'll explain. In February this year, the Taliban and the Afghan government decided to meet to have go through a peace talks process. A few faltering starts. They went, and the US government met with them in Doha and in Oslo. There was a few faltering things. The Taliban representatives walked away at one point and so on and so forth. But eventually they get to, by May 17, they sign a peace agreement. A part of the peace agreement is the Taliban are going to control the extremist elements within their ranks and agree to a ceasefire. And the Afghan government is going to agree to a ceasefire. And then they're going to put aid money and development money into certain things. And for the US's part, they're going to withdraw half of their troops. They've got something like 8,500 troops in Afghanistan. They're going to pull half of them out. Now, Donald Trump ran on his campaign. For all his flaws, he criticised the US foreign policy heavily. And he always said that he was going to pull these troops out of Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, Libya, wherever else they might be found. Now, he didn't do it, obviously. But now he's running for election in November this year. So it's an opportune moment for him to do it. And he's doing it as a bit of electioneering, which isn't great. He should have done it anyway, but it's better than nothing. But not only does he decide, or does he say that he's going to pull the troops out, or he's going to pull them all out. Okay. So this is the problem that he's up against. And this is where the military-industrial complex then drop stories like this to stop him. And this is how it happened. So The American military budget is set at something like 740 billion, roughly, right? It gets voted in every year. The Congress have to vote for the budget, and they do. They never. Sometimes there's a little bit of grandstanding, but they always vote for it, and it's always increased. But that money is almost sort of it's almost declared like in advance what you want to spend it. That's what they do. So they say we're going to spend it for the following year. We're going to spend this money on this. So then Donald Trump comes along and says, "I want to withdraw these troops." Now that costs money. That has to come out of the defense budget that they've already agreed upon. This means then it then has to go to the Congress and the Senate to vote for it in order to allow the president, this costs money, this extra money, to withdraw these troops. On the 2nd of July, this story dropped on the 28th of June, and on 4 days later, the Senate, the Congress and the Senate vote against the troop withdrawal. Those two things are connected at the hip. The reason the first story exists is because of that vote. The reason the story exists is because of that vote. They needed a little bit of something to smear the president that wants to bring the troops home, and that's what they did. Okay, now one of the reasons that they don't, the way things are set up with the contractors, the military contract, the people that make the guns, the bombs, the weapons of machinery of war. So say they make a tank or a plane or whatever it is, they don't make the plane all in New York State or all in California or all in Utah or all in whatever, right? They make a bit of it there, then they make another bit of it there, and they make another bit of it here. So this plane is made in 30 different states. So if that senator then votes against a budget increase or against a spending plan to develop this weapon or that whatever, he is effectively voting against jobs in his own state. And this is where the military industrial complex, which is a term that was coined by FDR, that he warned the world about, is so powerful. It's one of the mechanisms that they have that makes them so powerful. So I'm going to show you this graph here. It's not a graph, it's a list. And it's off of Wikipedia. Military expenditure database. The top 15 countries in the world. You can see it on the screen. If you're listening to this, I'll read it out to you. I'm not read it all out, I'll read a little bit of it out. So the top military budget expenditure in the world won't come as a surprise to you, I'm sure. It's the United States of America. And they spend, according to this, $732 billion a year. This last year. Right? That's went up significantly. The year before it was 140 billion less than that. And how they got that extra 140 billion is staggering as well, but I won't go into that right now. That's going to top $1 trillion soon. That's for one country. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I mean, that's interesting. This is where it gets more interesting. So the United States is number one, $732 billion a year. Number two, the People's Republic of China, $261 billion. That's 3 times less. Right? Number 3, who do you think is number 3? US is number 1, China's number 2. Number 3 is, I know what you're going to say, Russia, right? No, India with $71 billion. They have a space program, rampant poverty. Welcome to modern capitalism. It's fucking disgusting, but there you go. Number 4 is Russia with $65 billion. A fucking pittance compared to the US. In fact, by my math, that's something like 12 times less, 11 point something times less than the USA. Let's just read that again. USA, $732 billion. The Russian Federation, $65 billion. Number 5, Saudi Arabia, 61 billion. Number 6, France, 50 billion. Germany, 49 billion. UK, sitting at there at number 8 with a mere 48 billion. Japan, 47. South Korea, 43. Brazil, 26. Italy, 26. Australia, 25. Canada, 22. And number 15, Israel, 20 billion. Now, when you add all that up, that's just the top 15 countries. That comes to $1.917 trillion per year. This Russiagate story is because of that. That budget, that money needs spent, and they are not going to let it go. Here's another graph for you. This is a graph, this one. So it's a discretionary budget request by the Trump administration. So they have 1.3 trillion to spend, and they can choose to spend it on whatever they want. And as you can see, the defense budget is 57% of that 1.3 trillion. And then there's Veterans Affairs sitting at 7% at 83 billion, and health services 7% at 90 billion. Fucking defense is sitting at 57% of the budget, and the healthcare for people is at 90. And by the way, that 57%, that's not including your NSA, your FBI's, your fucking police, your all this CIA, all this secret military. That's not including any of that. That's all extra, right? So they're spending 57% of the administration's available spend on defense. Well, there's not a lot of defense done with it, if you ask me. Seems to be very, very aggressively used. So, now, this story, is, as I said, it's a direct, because we all, not all of us, but we fell for the whole Russiagate thing, hook, line and sinker. That means the Russia thing has legs. The media and the institutions of the establishment they know they can run with it, so they just tack this stuff onto the end. The Taliban are being offered bounties by Russia to kill foreign NATO troops, US troops, whatever. Because it's got steam, it's still going to go. People are still going to buy it, and they are buying it. I see my American friends on Facebook, and they repost these things, and it's very sad. And I can't say, I'm not going to say anything to them. They're, I love them dearly and whatever, but they're wrong. So now the weird thing is, if there was anybody that could be accused of what the US is accusing Russia of, it's the US. Because why? Well, the Mujahideen. The Mujahideen were the original resistance, let's say, in Afghanistan in the 80s. Fighting who? The Russians. The USSR. Also Rambo 3, right? When he goes to Afghanistan and fights off the entire Russian army all by himself. Right? There was another great movie, Charlie Watson, is it? Is Charlie Watson's War. This American senator, during the middle of the Cold War in the 80s, realizes that they can fund the Mujahideen to fight the USSR, who were invading their country. And him, along with, it was Tom Hanks was in it, and oh god, that great actor, he died, I can't remember. Tom Hanks is the senator, and the other guy's a CIA agent, and they figure out that they can fund these Mujahideen warrior guys, get them a wee over-the-shoulder rocket launcher, and they can shoot down these Hindy helicopters, the big Russian gunships, and they can defeat them that way. And they did, and it worked. So the Mujahideen was funded by the CIA and the US, which is and trained, which is sort of, it's in line with what the US is accusing Russia of doing today. So, and interestingly enough, it was the Mujahideen after that war. Then the Mujahideen warriors were put into camps in northern Pakistan because they had to flee. And they then became radicalized by these radical preachers in that were funded by Saudi Arabia, and they became who? The Taliban. That's where Osama bin Laden come from. And then they become ISIS. Right? It's all fucked up. It's all fucked up. People don't. It's not. This isn't a secret. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is fact. So, there we are. That's basically the thing. Now, we need to be careful whenever we're reading these reports on the news and we're seeing, because there are people in the establishment behind the scenes, and this is a plant of a story, and the media that report it instantly betray themselves as being untrustworthy as far as I'm concerned, just by virtue of the fact that they report this uncritically to unnamed security sources. That's what's in these news, and I've seen it on the news. I've seen it written in the New York Times. That's where this story originally appeared, in the Guardian, etc. And they just had two unnamed security sources, two fucking spooks, two spies, have planted this story in order to protect, two reasons, in order to protect the military budget for going forward. They want troops in Afghanistan. By the way, 19 fucking years we've been in Afghanistan. 19 years. Think about that. World War I lasted for 4 years. World War II lasted for 6. We're almost double both of those. 19. There are going to be people sent to war and will die in that country that weren't born when we first went into it. That is fucking disgusting. We've achieved nothing. Heroin production, poppy production has gone up. We've achieved nothing. It's nothing. And by the way, it's an unwinnable war. You can't defeat the Afghanis. No one has ever defeated the Afghanis. Partly because there's such I'm going to say they're obviously very good warriors, they're very good at what they do, but no small part is due to the geography of the country. You can't control that country. It has never been controlled. Alexander the Great couldn't do it. The French couldn't do it. The British couldn't do it. The Russians couldn't do it. And now the Americans can't do it. It's unwinnable. We can't. All it is a sinkhole to pour money into. Meanwhile, our NHS in this country and health services and whatever in America are fucking shit and getting worse. But meanwhile, you're spending 57% of your fucking. Give me a break. This is stupid. Get the troops out to fuck and home and spend the money on what we need it spent on. So, whenever we're reading these stories, right, we need to look at the language that's being used. So in this story, the same words are two unnamed security. You go and read Google after this. Go and Google it and you'll see that and that exact phrase, two unnamed security sources. Two unnamed security sources. The whole Russiagate thing, the whole Steele dossier, no evidence. Evidence-free conspiracy theory that they've been hammering Trump with for 4 years. And by the way, again, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, as I've said, but this is the president of America. It's one of the most powerful probably the most powerful individual on the planet, albeit for a short while. If they can do it to him, what the fuck can they do to you? You know? So when you're reading these reports, think like that. Just that we extra when you see that unnamed security, what does that mean? What is you can't turn around and just. I mean, we did this. We went to war in Iraq. 1 million people dead and rising. Countries in fucking flames. The Middle East is in flames because of us, because of our military spending. But I'm going to play you a little video, and it's from Jimmy Dore. Go and follow Jimmy Dore on YouTube. He's absolutely fucking brilliant. I love him. I'm a big fan. And This happened from a couple of years ago. So you remember, and it's just this critical. Just put this critical eye on what you're seeing. Now this one's funny. This is actually hilarious. It's hard to believe that this actually went out, but it did. This is a report that went out on CNN. It's the biggest news network in the world. The reporter, I'm going to tell you and then I'm going to show you. The reporter goes to the scene of an alleged gas attack by Bashar al-Assad on his own people. Which, again, didn't happen. And she sniffs a bag. Someone holds a bag and she sniffs it as if it's covered in a chemical weapon, and sort of go, yeah, it smells a bit funny, right? Now, it's plainly ridiculous, but this went out on the news and no one questioned it. Only people like Jimmy Dore went, what the fuck am I looking at? She sniffed. Now, as they say in the video, if that was the supposed scene of a chemical weapons attack, she don't even have a gas mask on. Right? Now, I don't know about you. I in the interests of honesty and whatever, I've done a little bit of, I used to be in the Navy. I've done a little bit of chemical weapons training, like how to survive a chemical weapon, how to get a gas mask on and all that stuff. And I've seen some videos. It was actually from Saddam Hussein when he was gassing his own people. He was gassing the Marsh Arabs in the northern part of Iraq back in the 70s with American money, by the way. It was American money that, but anyway, it was back in the 80s, sorry. And I seen the videos of those poor people and what these mustard gases and things do to them. I can assure you, if there was a hint of a possibility that this alleged gas attack was even 1% chance that it actually happened, there's no fucking way this woman would be anywhere near this scene. And she certainly wouldn't be in there sniffing bags and without a gas mask. Right? Because if I know what that stuff does to you, you can be sure she fucking knows. So, I'm going to play you this little video. Those of you that are listening, you'll be able to hear it, and you'll be able to hear it just fine, and you don't need to specifically see the video. So here we go.
Here's the CNN report. And I'm going to guess this reporter has won -7 awards for her reporting. Here she is literally sniffing a backpack.
Which, by the way, shows that she's not worried about it at all.
At all.
If I went somewhere, I would not get anywhere near that backpack if I thought something was actually in it. I certainly wouldn't stick my face in it and inhale it if we're talking about chemical weapons.
If you thought there was sarin gas or whatever you thought it was.
I don't even care if a producer was like, go sniff that backpack. This is great TV. I'd be like, you go sniff it. You're insane. I don't think so. And that guy's just helping her. Like, okay.
Yes. Look at the guy. Oh, here.
Sniff away.
Sniff away. Ready? No, here we go.
And there's definitely something that stings.
I can't. Oh my God. It's so stinky. It's so chemically. Oh my God.
That's like, I don't even think you can get another day out of that one. A lot of times
Is she joking or is she serious? I can't
she's
tell.
serious.
Oh my God, this seems like something you would do as a behind-the-scenes joke.
This is like The Onion.
Yeah.
If The Onion made videos, this is what it would look like.
Oh my God.
But these are the people who called me a conspiracy peddler. These are those people. Same people.
Spirit Rip.
Hang on, here we go.
And there's definitely something that stings.
I mean, it never gets old.
There's definitely something.
It's just so stinky.
Yeah, I think. Who are you, Kojak? That's horse. I don't understand.
I can't believe this real.
What kind of a reporter? Right, it's like, hey, I bet there's some chemical from a chemical attack on here. Let me sniff. Give me it. Let me sniff it. Where is it? What?
I mean, obviously she knows that that's not in there, or she's really,
Stupid.
really not smart.
Yeah, right. Hey, we're going to send you to Syria to look for chemical weapons. You want me to sniff them out? Yes, literally.
Please.
We want you to wherever you think it's contaminated with a chemical, go sniff it.
This is what TV news has become, sadly. Like, this is what we're wasting our time with. It's like reality TV.
It's hilarious.
The truth is too boring, so they got to go around sniffing backpacks
The
and
truth is too
making it a
boring.
gimmick.
So there we go. That's the reality. Now, you have to understand what was trying. Well, put that in context. What this narrative was trying to achieve, that was being manufactured, as Noam Chomsky taught us, manufacturing consent, was consent to do what? To invade Syria. Start another fucking war. Right? Now, Syria is a client state of the USSR, I almost said there, of the Russian Federation. So that means that what client state means is Syria, for example, sells oil to Russia. It goes to Russia for the things that it needs, like Mexico goes to the US, or the UK goes to the US. Well, I wouldn't say the UK is a client state of the, but I'm trying to think of a good example. Well, basically, most South American countries would be client states of the US. Mexico would be an example of that. So Syria is a client state of Russia. And these people are trying to manufacture the consent in the public sphere to start a war. That's what this is. To invade this country. They told us that Bashar al-Assad was the bad guy, and he was bombing and killing his own people. His country was invaded by ISIS. ISIS means Islamic State, Iraq, Syria. ISIL means Islamic State, Iraq, Libya. Okay? So the last S in the word ISIS means Syria. They invaded his country. Right? Now, we were funding the people that were fighting the president and the government forces of Syria. Right? Who were they? ISIS. They're fighting. Right? So we through our proxies are funding ISIS to defeat the government, the legitimate government of Syria. And these people on the news are manufacturing the consent that has been generated and created by the security state, the security forces, the CIA, the MI5s, all the rest of them. They create the narrative, and then 2 years later we invade. Well, we didn't. We weren't able to, because but although that's not over yet, so this will come back up again. But this is exactly what we did in Iraq. For years, we were told for years he has weapons of mass destruction. WMDs, no such thing. Never existed. Ever. Million people dead, countries in fucking flames. Still. And this is what they do. They manufacture the consent. They drop these stories into the public realm, and our media run with them. Why do the media run with them? It's good for views. Good for viewers. Good for readership. People buy the papers. People watch the news. They sell the adverts. And if you look at the TV news since Donald Trump has come into power, they're through the roof. Their viewership's through the roof. These news cycles they're through the fucking roof. Look at during the 2016 election campaign, rather than show Bernie Sanders announce his intention to run for president, they showed Donald Trump's empty podium because it got more views. For an hour, his podium was empty, and they had it on the news. At the exact same time, Bernie Sanders was holding a town hall where he was saying, I'm going to run for president, and announcing his intention to run. Never reported it. Well, one guy reported it and he got sacked for doing it. So that's what this is. That's what this story is. This stuff about Russia. It's all a part of that. Or it's all in that game. So we need to be more vigilant whenever we're looking at these stories and whenever we see these stories, and we need to understand that there's a reason for it. This story dropped on the 28th of May, and the 2nd of July, 4 days later, they failed to pass the vote in order to get the troops out. All right, so that's what that is. I hope I've explained that all right for you. I know it's a bit confusing. It's a bit all over the place. It goes from, I think we got Alexander the Great and everybody in there. But there we go. I'm going to call this. Hope you enjoyed this one. Like, share, subscribe. Tell all your friends. Do the thing. It's Monday. I'm going to shut this down, get it rendered and get it uploaded straight away. Because the news cycle, I've realised that I'll sit on these things for 3 or 4 days, and then by the time I go to put them out, they're almost out of date. So the news cycle moves so fast these days. Ancient Chinese cursed me, you live in interesting times, and we certainly do that. So listen, go and say cheerio. Thanks everybody, stay tuned. Bye.